Hello all, hope you all are doing good. So today we'll be talking about how to set up Docker container for Business Central 2021 release Wave 2 preview. Now as you all know, last week Microsoft announced the preview version for Business Central 19, and that's what 2021 release Wave 2 is. And I got a question in the last PC Open discussion about how to set up the Docker environment for Business Central 19 preview. So in this particular video, we'll talk about steps, how you set it up, and what are some specific things that you need to keep in mind if you have to, let's say, build a new extension for Business Central 19 preview version. You want to test out the new extension building with that. So let's start. So to start with, what we'll need is open Windows PowerShell as administrator in your machine, and then we will use the BC Container Wizard. To use BC Container Wizard, we need to give the command like new, I'm sure it's not case sensitive, BC Container Wizard. This is a set of steps that you can follow to create a Docker container for Business Central. All thanks to Freddy to build this easy way so that you don't have to remember different parameters, you don't have to find commands on web to do things while you're creating the Docker containers. So the first thing is to accept the license. Let's go ahead and accept the license. The next one is, because I've zoomed this so that the screen looks good, the next one is where you want to host your Docker container. Do you want to do it on a local machine or do you want to do it on a job VM? For the demo, I'm using the local Docker container. Next one is authentication. What kind of authentication you want? So there are different options. You can choose a username and password, and then at the end it'll ask you to enter username and password, or you want to use a predefined username and the predefined password, or a random one, or Windows authentication, which I would not prefer to use Windows authentication. I'll go with B, which is having a static password. Now what should be your container should be called, and I'll call it as BC19 preview. The next one is which version you want. Now there is a slight catch here that the preview ones are not available as an option because they are not part of the release. They will go away as soon as the actual project come into picture. So for the time being, we'll choose the latest Business Central sandbox or on-prem if you have to go on-prem, and then later on we'll modify that command. So we have selected A, which is the latest Business Central sandbox. At this point, while I'm recording this should pick 18.5, which is the latest Business Central sandbox container available. So once you have chosen those, what's the wizard is doing is trying to fetch the latest version that's available, trying to get the artifact URL to pull the image, and once all that is set, it'll move to the next step to ask the other question. So let's see, it'll take a while and it will jump to the next step. So next is to choose the country for which you want to create Docker container for. So I'll use it US. You can choose any country. These are the list of countries which are available. Then do you need the test toolkit or not? I have seen if you try to install the test toolkit, if you have to, while the Docker container is building, it sometimes run out of time or memory, and I'm not exactly sure what it runs out of. But there is actually an error message when you go through it. So I normally prefer it to do separately if you have to use the test toolkit. So right now I'll choose no test toolkit. The next one is premium plan, and if you don't know, in Business Central SaaS or online there are two plans, the basic plan and the premium plan, and you can choose your users to be on a premium plan or on a basic plan if you want. So I'll choose yes. Do you want to create some test users, which are these users which will be created automatically in your Docker container? I'll choose yes, and this will you need to have a developer license to do this, so make sure you only choose yes if you have a developer license. Then it's, do you want the base app to be modified, which I don't need to do, but if you have to do it, you can choose yes there, and I'll choose no. Do you need a language extension? And this is something that is a little bit different while you are dealing with the Business Central preview versions. Now in a preview version, you need to, if you have to build a new extension, you can't do it with the A language extension that is available on the VS Code apps, in the VS Code extensions. And the reason is because it's still under preview. So only in scenarios when you are dealing with the next major releases, or in some cases in next minor releases, or if you're working on the preview version, then you should download the VSIX file so that you can import it into your VS Code as an extension and then use it for your development. And we'll see that at the end of the video. So I'll say yes here. Then it needs a license, so you need, as I said, if you have selected some of the options which will require license, you need to attach the license. So I'll just go ahead and attach my license here. Okay, and that seems incorrect. I should pick this path. Okay, then what database you want to use? In these scenarios, it's always best to use a demo database because you will not have the correct version of database on your local SQL server. So you can't restore, or you cannot connect to an existing database. So it's better to use a Cronus database. Do you want it to multi-tenant or not? So if you are doing something specific for a multi-tenant environment, then choose yes. Which DNS setting you want? I normally prefer Google. It works fine, so I'll choose B. Do you need the Docker to support the self-signed certificate, or do you have a certificate, or you don't care for the testing and for the development that you're doing? Either you use HTTP or HTTPS, so I'll choose A. And then next is isolation, which is about which kind of Hyper-V isolations you want to use. I normally tended to let Docker decide it, as I'm not expert in Dockers. So I'll choose A. Next, how much memory? So if you read through it, it talks about if you are using it for demo users, you need to give it at least 4 GB. For app development, 4 to 8 GB and 16 GB if you have to do a base app modification. Now this is the amount of memory that the Docker container will be set to. So I'll set it to the minimum, which is 4G. And then do you want to save the image? So while I'm recording this, I already have an image saved, so I don't need that. But if you think that you might have to create multiple containers for BC19 preview, or you might have to reset up the container during this preview period, then do save the image. It saves time when you have to create the next Docker for this. So I'll keep it blank because I already have a saved image. Now this generates the command that you need. Now you need to save it on a file so that it pops up into your PowerShell ISE, which is not mandatory. You can run it from here if you need, but I already have my Windows PowerShell ISE open here, but there's no commands here. So what I'll do is I'll just save it here, the demo preview, and I'll save it. As soon as I do that, that wizard closes and it opens your Windows PowerShell ISE. So I'll just close this. I'll expand this and let me increase the size so that we can see what came out. So it gave the container name as we chosen in the wizard. It gave it a password, It gave it to secure the password. It generated a credential, which is a username, the authentication type, and this is the artifact URL, which will get you the image of that version that you need. So if you just run this here, you will see it will fetch the detail of the latest sandbox container for US localization with the latest available of type sandbox and give you that URL. Now this is the place, the artifact URL, which decides which image will be used for creating your Docker container. Now while you are dealing with the preview environments, this is something which will not give you the latest image. You'll have to tweak it a little bit, and that tweaking, let's do it here while this is executing. It's stored in a separate storage account. That account is BC public preview, and then if you are using on-prem, then you can use the type on-prem. If you have a different country, then you will have it here, and then you don't need the select latest because that's only one image there. So if you see here what happened when I ran the default that came from the wizard, it gave me the BC artifact URL for 18.5 US. And what happens when I run this one, which is for the public preview, it'll give me one for Business Central 19. So in that way, these two are different, and this is what you need to change in the command that is generated from the wizard to map it to the version that you need. And just for fun's sake, if you want, let's say for India localization, and if I change it to India here and change this to be on-prem, it'll give me the URL for India localization. So you can play around with this to find the exact country or exact type that you need for your preview environment. Once this is set, then it picks the license path and it calls the new BC container with these parameters. And at the end, it is trying to set up the different credentials that we need for the test users. So now once we have done this, I'll just save this and then I'll start running this, which will start my Docker creation process. So let me zoom this in and we'll see it started creating. As I said, I already have the image downloaded and saved, so it should not take much time to set this up. It is still trying to download some of the files, but once this is done, I'll start building my container. I still haven't upgraded the Windows because that option is not available for me right now. So I'm seeing some of the messages here about different infos and warnings around what kind of isolation you're using. And if you have a problem, then you can add the isolation Hyper-V, which was one of the options in the wizard. So if you end up in an error message around this, just keep an eye on these yellow messages and it'll give you that info where you might be going wrong while you're trying to set up your container. So let's wait for a while and see what happens over here. As you see, it started moving ahead. It's placing some file. It requested the container creation and the artifacts are downloaded. It is installing, it is setting up that container that we needed. So that's good. Now it's installing the other required software to make sure that this container runs. It also placing some of the files in my local folder, which I'll show you in a while. Now the installation is complete inside the Docker for Business Central. Now it's trying to start the Business Central service tier. Once that is done, it'll move ahead. So most of the things are done because I already have an image which was saved. If you don't have an image, it may take some time to download that image and then start your Docker creation. But let me walk through till then why we needed that VSIX file. So if you open your VS Code and when you try to create a new extension, let's say ALGO, and let me use the default path. If you see right now, the options that we have is from 1.0 to 7.0, which is from the dynamic snap versions of the product till Business Central 18, which is the 2021 release wave 1. So I only get the target platform as 7.0. And even if I choose 7.0 and then go into my app.json and try to change it to 8.0, it'll give me an error because it will not understand it that it is in supported version. Let me just check this and show you that. So the maximum version of the runtime here available is 7.2, which is for the latest release product for Business Central 18. So in that way, you can't connect to an environment which is higher than 7.2 with this runtime version. Now all that is getting set from the extension that we use, VS Code, which is our AL language extension. That should be on the top, this one. Now this will get updated and start supporting Business Central 19 once the product is publicly available for everyone. Right now it's on preview. So we'll see how we use that package that we downloaded. Now the Docker creation seems to be completed. It's trying to synchronize some extensions in that. And did I set test library? Maybe I did. Let me just check. Okay, DNS, memory, get AL language. Okay, nothing. So let's see what it is doing. Now it's trying to create the company, Cronus USA. It's trying to set up companies, and then that's done. Creating users for the tenant, that's required. If you are looking at this, you see that there is a warning that license is not compatible because the license that I have is also supported till BC 18 because BC 19 is not a product yet. But the Docker creation is successful. Let's go up, and I want you to pay attention on certain things, which is this area. So here you will see some details like you can access this client using this. So let's quickly check that. So let me open my browser and we will see that in there. So if I run this, I should be able to log in with admin, and I don't remember this password, but this is the password. Okay, sign in. So this should give me my BC 19 preview environment for Business Central, and as I said, I'm using Business Central SaaS, so I'll see that, which is this. Okay, I might have to restart this, but if I go to help and support, okay, I guess it's still doing something, so I'll have to wait for it because it's still maybe creating companies or setting some data over there. But if I now go into my help and support and check here, the version is 19.0, and let me expand this, 19.0 for US, platform this, application this. Now that all looks good, and I should be able to connect it to my VS Code if required. But as I said, if you have to test your existing extension that you have built for your customer just to see are they compatible or not, then you can just try to publish those extensions in the Docker environment and see what happens. But in a scenario where you have to create a new extension, as we just saw that the VS Code extension for AL language that we have doesn't support runtime version anything higher than 7.2. And then there is this path where the VSIX file, because we said yes, is stored, which is in this path. there's a VSIX package. Now at the same time, when it is placed inside the Docker container, it should also be available somewhere in our machine, because the Docker is hosted in our machine, right? So if you go back into your C drive program data, inside there will be something called as BC container helper. Inside BC container helper, you'll see a folder called extension. And then if you have multiple, you might see multiple folders here, but I have one for 184, which is BC 18.4, and one for BC 19 preview container. And inside this, there is this set of files which are kind of copied from or linked to your Docker environment, and there is this file, Microsoft Visual Studio Services VSIX package. So what you need to do is we'll copy this path and we'll open our VS Code, and from these three dots you can install from a VSIX file. So when I install this, I need to go to that folder, and that will start installing the higher version. This is 7.4, installing higher version of the AL language extension, which then will allow me to write new extensions if I have to on this preview version. So let's wait for a while. It is installing. If you see this blue line that is moving, that once this is completed, we'll see a higher version which is higher than 7.4. And that's where this VSIX option or the AL option in your wizard is used for. Only in case of minor, next major, or in case of the preview builds where the preview is available, but as it is not publicly available, you can't just change, start using the higher version of exe. So let me see where it went. It should have installed it. Okay, let me reload my environment. Okay, so if now I see the AL language have been modified. This, okay. So let me reload it again, and it says cannot activate. Okay, that's okay. That's a separate extension. But if I see for AL language, and that I cannot see AL language, this is 7.4, which is the standard one, but I should surely see one which is installed for me. Okay, object designer, package, restaurant. Let me close this and open my VS Code again, because I installed something from VSIX and sometimes it doesn't support that. Okay, for some reason I cannot see it, but let's try creating a new extension. Control Shift P, AL go, and I don't see that, so let me try to install it again. VSIX file. Okay, it might want it to uninstall the previous version first. I guess that might be the problem. Okay, and let me try to do AAL go. Okay, still says 7.4, but I guess I have some issues here. A language extension, disable all. Okay, let's reload this and let's try to install it again. Because that normally, if okay, it says it's completed the installation, so that means we'll have to uninstall uninstall the existing one and then install the new one, which is this one. It's disabled. Let's try Go and create an AL Go. Okay, let me close the VS Code again. Sorry guys for the problems. Okay. That seems a little odd. Normally it gets installed as it is. Okay, Microsoft Visual Studio. And is it inside mine? No, it's inside. This is AL language extension from VS. AL language. Okay. Okay, so as this is not getting installed, let's just enable this and let's try to create an extension. And I think I might be completely wrong on that, but let me try to create an extension, and I'm pretty much optimistic that it should work. If that's something which is not available. Hope so, it works. So we're trying to download the symbol, and as you notice that it says, oh, the BC server here, I'll have to change this to BC19 preview. Okay, and let me try to download the symbols again. Okay, so it's actually downloading the symbols, and it did download 2 symbols. And okay, let me try downloading it again. Okay, so it's downloading all the symbols. We have Microsoft application, we have system application, and base application, which is all of them. And why that happened is because this is the minimum version that's needed. Anything higher than this that you're connecting to will always get downloaded. And I guess the runtime is okay. In the past, and that's why I guess I was a little bit confused. In the past, in scenarios where you have to do a code against a higher version, there was a very tight integration to the runtime version, which seems no longer needed, which is a good thing. Sorry to waste your time on that part, but this is how you create your Business Central 19 or Business Central 2021 release wave 2 preview and start testing your extensions that you have built for your customers, because it's very important to test those if they are on SaaS, because they will be upgraded as Business Central 19 is available as a product. And at that time, your extensions, your pertinent extension, should be compatible with Business Central 19. And there are certain things which are being removed in Business Central, or I should not say removed, but rewritten in a better way with the replacement features which are available in this release. So make sure you test all your pertinent extensions for your SaaS customers before the product is available, which is, I don't know the exact date, but sometime in next month. So that's very important, and I hope you understood how to change your PowerShell command, which will help you to create the Docker container, which is changing the artifact URL with adding storage account as BC public preview and removing the latest parameter or the select parameter that we use in normal command. If you have any thoughts, comments, or if you want me to talk about any specific topic, let me know in the comments to this video. If you like the video, please do subscribe to the channel. It feels great when there are more people who get subscribed to your channel. So thank you for today, and we'll meet you next time. Have a great day.